What do you feel when you watch those clips of colossal waves? If the answer is nothing yet, then picture yourself on a ship's deck, helplessly tossed in a whirl of sea. The wind whistles, waves smash against the hull, and beneath you yawns thousands of meters of dark, cold abyss. Your heart races, your hands clamp the rail, but it isn't enough. You slip and go overboard, what lies down in the deep. If that struck a nerve at any point, congrats. You may have theophobia, a fear of deep water and whatever might be hiding in it. But where does it come from? Does our brain conjure phantoms where none exist? Or monsters from the deep are actually real? So, why exactly do the ocean's depths trigger such primal terror? Not going to lie, at first theophobia felt a little like a made-up problem to me. Picture the 1870s. The whaler Pilgrim was cutting through the cold Atlantic. Suddenly, a beast burst from the depths, coiling its tentacles around the ship and trying to drag it under. George Draxton, captain of the Pilgrim, swore that's exactly how it happened. The incident became one of the most famous Kraken reports. Yes, that one. A giant squid said to terrorize sailors. Obviously fiction. Or was it? The first mentions of this monster had been recorded a full century before the Pilgrim's Tale, 1774. Captain Robert Jameson and his crew claimed their ship encountered an enormous creature that by their account reached nearly 2.5 kilometers in length and 9 m tall. The giant appeared and vanished in the water, kicking up towering waves. After it dove, the sailors found so much fish they nearly filled their entire ship. This story stunned people because the crew gave their statements under oath in court. The Kraken was taken so seriously that Danish naturalist and Bishop Erik Pontoppidan described it in scholarly works as a real creature the size of a floating island able to drag a large ship to the bottom with its tentacles. Even if the monster didn't attack people, the whirlpool from its plunge was allegedly enough to suck any vessel into the deep. As evidence, Pontoppidan cited Norwegian sailors who once saw a young Kraken wash ashore in northern Norway. And fishers long said, if someone has an exceptional catch, he's fishing above the Kraken. But could any of these tales be true? In 1873, biologists officially documented the existence of giant squid. They can reach lengths of 13 m, but they live deep and rarely rise near ships. Physically, they can't attack entire vessels. Most likely, Norwegians mistook such a squid for a juvenile Kraken. After all, they'd heard stories of monsters as big as islands. Even if invented or wildly exaggerated, these tales triggered a chain reaction of fear. Within decades of the Pilgrim's so-called encounter, over 100 captains reported similar attacks. It was a kind of collective paranoia that infected the imagination and made people fear not only monsters, but the water itself. Back in 1856, a giant wave struck a fishing village off Iceland's coast. It swept away every boat, even those far from shore. Locals say the wave took many fishers and their families, leaving only emptiness and silence. Survivors trembled, just trying to approach the shore. They feared the giant wave would return and finish them for good. The story's veracity is doubtful, of course, but it perfectly captures the lasophobia's symptoms. Its victims feel terror literally in their bodies. The heart pounds, panic floods in, hands shake, lungs seem unable to draw enough air. For those with severe theophobia, even the sound of the ocean or photos of the deep can provoke fear. Scientists believe it has objective evolutionary roots. Our ancestors who avoided deep water were more likely to survive at the very least because not everyone could swim even in the shallows and the dark held many real dangers. See predators, powerful currents that could pull a person down. So even today with sea myths debunked, thalassophobia remains very real and it will paralyze you. Our imagination, despite our rational mind's best efforts, sees the outlines of unknown monsters in the dark water. You're gliding across the night sea in perfect silence, only the soft slap of waves against the hull. Then from the dark, a melodic voice reaches you and seems to pierce your soul. You can't resist. The song lures you so strongly that you take a step over the rail. In an instant, the voice vanishes and you sink, dragged down by black icy water. Many sailors describe this singing as irresistibly enchanting, making them lose their grip on reality. Some jumped overboard as if bewitched. Others simply forgot their duties with lethal consequences. Of course, we're talking about mermaids. Stories about them flourished, especially in medieval Europe. Maps were adorned with their images to warn of hazardous waters. Myths of enchanting sea voices exist across cultures, from Greek sirens to Japanese ningo. What unites them is danger and inevitable doom. But is there any proof? Spoiler: no one has ever found real mermaids. Yet, the tales of their songs were so persistent that modern scientists study the phenomenon. They found that whales, especially humpbacks, produce melodic sounds that can travel dozens of kilometers underwater. Dolphins communicate with whistles and clicks that right above the water may indeed sound uncanny. But why did this singing affect sailors so strongly? Imagine months, even years at sea with little real sleep in constant danger, with physical exhaustion, stress, vitamin deficiency, and scarce social contact. It's the perfect recipe for hallucinations, hearing voices, seeing shapes in the water, sailors mistook for mermaids, or reading whispers in ordinary wave noise. And there are even creepier stories. On the night of the 7th of December, 1900, the captain of the steamer Archon noticed that a lighthouse on one of the Flandon Isles had gone dark. A small team headed there to find out why. What they found felt like the setup of a supernatural thriller. The lighthouse was locked. Its 3 keepers were nowhere to be seen. There were no signs of a struggle, but the missing men left journal entries about strange events. They heard voices calling their names from the fog. One wrote that he heard his mother. During the inspection, sailors found one lifeboat gone and another smashed. Tables and chairs in the quarters were overturned as if someone had frantically searched for something. But where had the keepers gone? What made them abandon the island knowing it could be lethal? One explanation given after the inquiry was that a giant wave had simply swept them away. The same kind of wave that once devastated that Icelandic village. One of the later keepers, Walter Aldebert, photographed these cliffs in the 1950s and showed that breakers there sometimes reached 60 m high. It's worth noting that local shepherds avoided the island long before the lighthouse was built. They believed malevolent elves lived there and hated trespassers. They wouldn't even leave sheep there overnight. Skeptics will say it's all folklore, just a way to dramatize a mystery. But what did the keepers and the shepherds have in common? Long stretches of isolation with the exposure to the elements in such solitude, eerie mist, and silent waves easily turn into voices calling you into the clammy dark. And you don't have to be a superstitious shepherd to believe in deep-sea monsters. Theophobia can strike real scientists. In 1997, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration recorded a sound dubbed the bloop. Here it is. This low-frequency rumble was so powerful that it was picked up by hydrophones separated by thousands of kilometers. The first scientific guess, an unknown creature, making those bloops, which would mean something island-sized, just like the mythical Kraken. And H.P. Lovecraft fans even wondered if we caught the stirring of the unfathomable Chulhu, the horrifying ancient god said to sleep in the underwater city of Rhea. Imagination ran even wilder when it turned out that the source of the bloop seemed to be located in the South Pacific, close to the coordinates Lovecraft himself gave for Chulhu's lair in his books. But in 2005, scientists concluded that the bloop's giants were real and they were glacier. Our instruments had captured so-called cryoseismic noise, or in layman's terms, huge slabs of ice cracking or shifting and producing low-frequency groans. But let's be honest, even knowing the rational answer, part of you still wants to believe in a monster. After all, sometimes alessophobia isn't baseless. You dive into the blue void near Socorro Island in the Pacific. Around you, only water shivering with tiny fish in a lazy current. The depth beckons and scares at once. You turn your head and suddenly see it. A giant shadow rising from below. What is it? That's how eerie a perfectly ordinary whale shark, about 12 m long, can feel. Despite its size, it feeds on small prey. Plankton, tiny fish, mollusks. But will facts save you from primal dread when you glimpse the whale shark's enormous shadow? You probably thought it was a megalodon that miraculously survived to haunt you. This true monster lived from roughly 23 to 312 million years ago and reached up to 24 m long, more than 2 school buses parked end to end. Even a whale shark would look small beside it. Its jaws alone could span nearly 3 meters, and they were about 10 times stronger than a great white's. One bite could shatter the bones of almost any prey. With palm-sized teeth built to rend flesh, Megalodon could devour whales, dolphins, even other sharks. Could it have survived to today? Scientists don't think so. The populations of Megalodon's main prey, large marine mammals, declined sharply after the last ice age. But what if our deep-seated fear of a shark monster were real? Ocean trade routes would face constant attack. We'd build fortified harbors, and deep-sea research would be nearly impossible. Imagine standing on a massive cargo ship escorted by armed vessels ready to repel a giant shark. You stare into the ocean and, even surrounded by protection, feel nameless dread. Yet even Megalodon wasn't the ocean's absolute ruler. In the Cretaceous, long before Megalodon, another giant reigned, the mosasaur, a marine dino that was a nightmare for anything that moved. It reached 17 m and had long, deadly jaws like a crocodile's. Even Megalodon would have considered it a chief rival if their A's had overlapped. Its body was built for hunting, a powerful tail for speed, fins for maneuvering. It didn't just strike. It pursued prey with astonishing stamina. And if that shadow in the water turned out to be a mosasaur, our coast would be very different places. You're swimming at a sunny beach when something cold and slick brushes your legs. You look down, a shredded orca carcass. That means a mosasaur is close. The sea becomes a risk zone where every swim could end with a meeting with a killing machine. Still, there's an even older monster so alien beside Megalodon and mosasaur that it can force the lassophobia even onto those who never had it. Camaros, a distant ancestor of modern squid, lived over 470 million years ago. It had a massive shell and tentacles capable of seizing large trilobites, long-gone armored creatures that roamed the seafloor. You're working 200 m down near an oil rig. The darkness is tar-thick, pierced only by the cone of your helmet light. Steel shapes loom around you. Pipes, valves, rust merging with inky water. Somewhere here is a damaged pipeline you must fix. Then at the edge of your vision, something shifts. The beam catches movement, fast yet silent. You freeze, maybe just a fish. Just in case, you slip into a special cave for sea monster encounters. But even that isn't strong enough to stop a 12 m cameras. If all these monsters still existed, humanity's relationship with the ocean would be entirely different. Deep water drilling and trans-ocean shipping would be almost impossible. Our seafood would shrink to whatever we could net near safe shores. And above all, the ocean would be even more mysterious and dangerous than modernophobia whispers to us. Yet, although Megalodon, mosasaur, and Camarasaurus vanished millions of years ago, there are plenty of monsters in today's ocean worth your fear. In 1937, a team of scientists probed the Mariana Trench. They lowered a metal probe on long steel cables. Then something strange happened. The cables went taut, as if pulled even deeper. When the team finally hauled it up, everyone was stunned. The metal was scored as though by gigantic claws. One researcher then even wrote that the ocean has no bottom, but it has teeth. And when it comes to the deep-sea anglerfish, those words take on new meaning. It looks designed by a horror film artist. That's half its body. Teeth so long and sharp it can't even contain them inside. The eeriest part is a lantern, a living, glowing organ above its head. In total darkness, at depths over 1,000 m, where sunlight never reaches, that tiny light becomes a death trap. A curious fish wanders close. One lightning snap later, it's gone. But you don't dive that deep, and you're too smart to fall for an angler's light, right? Instead, you're swimming in open sea, savoring the cool waves. Then something smooth and sticky brushes your leg. Seaweed, you think, until you see tentacles unspooling around you with no end in sight. In a heartbeat, you can't move. This isn't a mythical kraken, but the lion's mane jellyfish. It's deadly thanks to sheer size. No fangs needed. It can stretch its killing tentacles to 30 m. It could easily wrap a megalodon and have plenty to spare. Those tentacles aren't just for intimidation. They are loaded with potent toxins. A single brush can cause intense pain and paralysis. Stings rarely kill humans. But it can be a true ordeal, especially if the lassophobia freezes you and you can't get out quickly. Motionless, you might helplessly slip beneath its bell, which can reach 2½ m across. Honestly, even passing one from the safety of a yacht, I couldn't admire it. I'd still shudder. There's not a single bone in a jellyfish. Yet, it's bigger than you. This gelatinous blob drifted the seas long before humans, and we are nothing to it. Just another meaty prey that will one day vanish while these jellies keep roaming the ocean for eons more. But at least near them, you can take a break from other phobias like a fear of insects. Can't you? Well, bad news. The giant isopod is basically an ocean-scale pill bug. It can grow up to 1/2 meter, about the size of a small house cat. They live from 200 to 2,500 meters down, and they won't leave you in peace even after death. Giant isopods methodically process carrying fish whales, devouring any flesh that falls from above. Imagine those armored bodies creeping across the bottom. Each movement comes with a faint crackle. Their jaws are slow but merciless when it comes to breaking down organic matter. If you've seen alien movies, you can easily picture a giant isopod as a perfect ocean xenomorph. But while that horror crawls, the next is a silent ghost that glides, a ghost shark. Its very look seems engineered to stir theophobia. Through its translucent skin, you see organs. Its eyes glow in the dark. It moves smoothly, almost without motion, like a real phantom sliding through the depths. Its body seems fragile, but that's just first impression, and a wrong one. The ghost shark lives in crushing pressure over 2,000 m deep. The first footage of a ghost shark was captured only in 2002, and even scientists were stunned. It looks so unreal, it's hard to believe it's a living creature inhabiting today's oceans. It's a true living fossil, part of the chimera group that has existed for more than 300 million years. Just picture it materializing in utter darkness, no sound, no warning, just a phantom, as if to remind you the ocean still keeps secrets we might be better off not uncovering. Perhaps that very unknown is what makes the ocean so frightening and feeds our very real and not so baseless theophobia. You see, despite all our scientific progress, the deep sea remains nearly as mysterious and dangerous as it was thousands of years ago when our ancestors first stood on the shore and felt that fear. And even as of 2025, only 25% of the ocean floor has been mapped, which means a full 75% of the depths remain a complete mystery. Scientific expeditions have truly studied only a few percent of the oceans. And no wonder. Pressure is crushing, temperature's low, and there's almost no light. It's as if the ocean itself is telling us, you are not in charge here. And the ocean is right. We may conquer space, build robots and artificial intelligence, but we're helpless before the powers of the deep. So, if you've never felt this fear, now is a good time to start. Because who knows, when you stand at the shore next time, something may flicker in the waves that's better left alone. And only theophobia will save you.